President speaking to the all the radio stations. That is Honorable Raila Odinga at his current residence speaking to the Kalenjin radio stations there, of course speaking to the entire nation on his agenda and answering questions from journalists who were asking questions pertaining matters, national politics, the development way back he was in the Grand Coalition government with President Mwai Kibaki, and even looking forward to 2022. And just to have a quick recap on what Honorable Raila Odinga said in the last 1 hour, I'm joined by Hamisi Mboga, who is joining me via Zoom from Mombasa. Hamisi, good morning. If you can hear me, there you have it. Hamisi, good morning and good to have you.
Good morning, Victor. I'm happy to be with you again.
One fantastic. And of course, with me in studio here, I have Daniel Orogo. He's a political analyst. Perhaps let me just start with you, Daniel, as I welcome you to the studio.
Good morning.
Awesome. You've heard what Raila has said in the last 1 hour. What's your take home from that point?
I think first of all, from whatever the interview I've had, it's one taking a stock of his tenure at the Grand Coalition government. And then secondly, also giving a stock on what he's led the opposition to do, in the regime from 2013, 2017, and then 2017 till now. He's gone further to also, elaborate on his role after the handshake. So looking at his agenda, because I think the whole interview was that is trying to reach, the rift and trying to bridge the rift within the rift. So his talk is basically as Raila Odinga's presidential bid. I think this was more of his launching to talk to the people of the Kalenjin nation. What I've heard is basically it was expected that questions were going to come about his relationship with the deputy president. That was expected. That was normal. And then also his agenda post the handshake. So I think he's given us talk of his clear-mindedness and his agenda in terms of multi-party democracy in the Grand Coalition government, as opposition leader, and also what he is supposed to do as a presidential candidate. Briefly, I think that is the stock from what the whole interview was all about.
Hamisi from Mombasa, perhaps your reaction to Honorable Raila Odinga's interview?
Thank you, Victor. After listening to Honorable Raila for the last 1 hour, picked a few things which I think highlight his position. He talks about economic improvement of our country. When he touches about agriculture, he touches about, in general, all aspects of agriculture. He's touching about the backbone of our economic foundation. So I think from that point of view, he has some insight into what we can do to be able to improve the situation, the current situation that is there. He has also talked about the relationship of working together, the relationship of seeing ourselves as one Kenya. And he has also mentioned about you can have differences. Victor, you and me, you can have differences. But when it's a common thing about Kenya, we can put those differences away and focus on development of a common goal. So I think he's coming out a different kind of Raila we know for those days. Raila of combating. He's now coming down to negotiate, say, can we do it together? These are my ideas. What are your ideas? I think he has talked to the Kalenjin nation, but also to the whole Kenyan nation in terms of those aspects. When you touch any of those things, he has said you're touching many Kenyans. But this Umoja, I think, is the rallying call, which is quite good. When people call people together, you're kind of saying, why don't we work together? Instead of those people and these people or those people. I think I got something quite a lot from his new way of addressing us as a candidate for 2022.
Perhaps, Daniel, it was a soft approach towards the Kalenjin nation, because when you have almost all the 12 radio stations and the TV station going there in Karen, and talking to the Kalen, it was strategic, let me so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's not unique to him, but because all the spotlight is now cast on the former premier. It's quite important also to note that his approach much is not on abrasiveness and confrontational, as Hamisi has talked about. But I think the rallying call towards this kind of talk that he had was based on conversation. You know that in one of the areas, I mean, he touched on the thorny issue, and I told you that questions were coming about his former engagement, in terms of working relationship with the people in the Rift. You know, his approach towards talking and reconciling with that region. Well, I understand that his demeanor might have been very different from before, because of course he's striking a tone where that is not really opposing everything the government does and the government where William Ruto is. But now reaching out to him, and I had the questions that as the roundup of questions were as the interviewers were taking the last questions, he was asked about if there is prospect about working with the DP in future, and he's saying is open, and saying that he's the one who left him to and ran away from the whole agenda. I think that is more of striking a tone of reconciliatory tone, conversation, trying to reach out to the deputy president.
But perhaps it could just be a political statement.
Definitely, that's what I said. The conversation is about harmonizing a political agenda. That's what every candidate is doing right now. Reaching out to these regions and what is the common interest for any presidential candidate in a certain region. And I think I am sure and certain that he might not have realistically, he would not really get a lot of votes and support from the Kalenjin nation, because our politics is much on ethno-geographical loyalty and mobilization based on ethnicity. But I guarantee you that there is people who've listened to him. Victor, I can also remind you that when you heard the speeches he was giving in meeting the parties, interested parties from central Kenya, everybody was surprised about the caliber and the history he was given about his interaction with the Kikuyu nation, from way back as a Luo nation and as his father, the former vice president, the relationship he had with Kenyatta's by that time, and the whole entire Kikuyu nation. So I think his approach with areas that are not traditionally, his strongholds, and where he has a lot of support base, is rather on a conversation, is rather on, striking where can we work together, even if we disagree, but where is the common agenda, where is the common Kenyan agenda that, Raila Odinga and this nation, the Kalenjin nation can work together on. So again, as a political candidate, as a presidential candidate, I think he's also said about his agenda on corruption and the rest of the things. So I think this talk is a launch pad for him and is giving him our leeway, even if he would want now, because I think I guarantee you that it is the first step towards reaching out to the nation. He is going out now physically, and I can tell you that in some few days or some weeks, he's now preparing to launch his groundwork and forays in the Kalenjin nation.
Okay, let me bring Hamisi here. Hamisi, we just have like only 30 seconds if you can make it, please. This strategy of approaching tribes in having the radio stations, the TV stations, is it a workable strategy?
Yeah, this is one of the strategies, because if you look at the reach out of radio, you talk to more people. In fact, more people sometimes than the television. So this is a good strategy. And the other thing that I think I can give him a score is the approach, the new approach of saying, here I am, I have come to the region. Before I say what I can do for you, what are you saying? He's absorbing a lot of information rather than the usual political scenario when you go to a campaign to say, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. First, he listens to those people, and then he says, out of this one, some of the things we can do is my suggestion. I think this is a good approach in terms of the new political way of handling our things. I think he's reaching more people than people think. In terms of listening
Okay.
When you ask me a question, Victor, and then you respond to that question, you have touched me. So this is the new way of dealing with it.
So, see, is it safe to say that, well, he's not openly declared his candidature, but can we easily predict that he'll be on the ballot?
To me, and I said it before, he will be in the ballot. He will be in the ballot. The kind of wave that he's picking up is, by the time he launches it, it's non-stop already. So, and also he's gauging people say, okay, I'm here, I can do it, but I've not announced. So when you people want me, I can be there. So it's another approach of saying, you endorse me, but I'm already ready to work for you. And then when it comes to the final round and say, I was endorsed by all, and it's true, he was endorsed by the courts, he's endorsed by Northeastern, he's endorsed by the Central. So when he's endorsed by Nyanza, and then it comes to Nairobi to be endorsed, he will be a candidate. We are sure. Yeah.
Before Orogo closes for us here, the issue of Mao, it seems it's a heavy tag that continue to follow Raila year in, year out. We all know it started way back in the years, but to date, the issue of Mao is still, a thorny issue. What do you make of that?
When I listened to him this morning, and I've been listening to a number of other people about the Mao, I realized actually sometimes when you are in these offices, political offices, you become a victim. The Mao issue was not one person issue. He's explained that actually it was discussed, it was researched, it was presented to the cabinet, and then it was the implementation. And he happened to be the overseer of that implementation. And then all the blame was put on him. So I think he has explained, for those people who like to understand that a government directive, if you get an issue here, security issue, you don't say Matiang'i has come. It is the government. Maybe it has been discussed and considered. So I think I got that point, that he was a victim in terms of that, but he had a job to do. When you have a role to do, and you have been given that role to do, you do it. And when you believe actually finally it's going to help people, you do it with a conviction. And that's what affected him.
Okay. Orogo, just to finalize now, from that interview, has it changed anything?
It's difficult to substantiate if it's changed anything. But just like I said before, that anytime the former premier have an opportunity to explain his agenda, there is always a turnaround about situations. He has a platform, addresses the issues, give historical context and what informed his decision before. It turns around situations. So I believe, just like any other political candidate, and the rest, of course, we'll talk to those regions as well. I think the nation has given him a time to listen, and they would evaluate. But I think he's clearing perceptions, he's clearing, bad negativity, and he's gaining ground. But allow me to say this in a second, okay? A country as we are facing right now, we would not want any political violence that is meted to any candidate. So peace in wherever we go, tolerance, political tolerance, and political acceptance in every place that we are having in this country.
Wow, I wish we had more time to discuss this. Of course, we can talk about this on end, but we have to close it at this particular point. Thank you so much for your valid company on behalf of my colleagues, Jen, Doreen, and Regina, and the entire crew. We wish you a fantastic day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.